Good morning, everybody. How are you doing? We'll let a few people come on before we get into the crux of the matter, but hopefully you're all doing very well indeed on this pretty miserable, blustery autumnal morning. Went fishing yesterday, had a right fail. Went on the river, caught nothing, caught crayfish, rivers at the top of the bank. Just really difficult conditions at the moment for fishing. The lakes are either frozen, the rivers are either banked up. Difficult time. So whatever you're doing this weekend, hope you enjoy it. I thought this would be a really cool subject to touch on, actually. And I've got so many lines in front of me here. Various different ones from various different people. And I thought it'd be a really cool subject to touch on because I did a few of you joining now. Let me know you can hear me okay. Give us a like. Let's get this to 50 likes before we crack on, so we can spread the word that we're doing this. No edited video this week, unfortunately. Conditions have just ruined all my filming plans. I went Saturday morning to do I wanted to do like a chub one, and it was just rock hard. It was abysmal. Morning Phil, morning Thomas. Everything's really tough at the minute. Me and Mick have been out, got wet through this week, although we did get a video, which is really cool. Good video. Tried to get one yesterday, failed again. Just really tough conditions at the moment. Hello, Martin. Good day. So yeah, it might have to do with a few of these lives. Morning, Baptiste. Might have to do with a few of these live ones for now until the weather improves, because at the minute, trying to film on your own when you've got really bad weather, it was fine. It's not the one at the moment. So plenty of you watching. So let's crack on. Let's get the likes up, everybody. So anyway, in fact, I've got it here. 4 weeks ago on my Facebook page, 10th of November it was, on my Facebook page, I put a picture of this stuff, Reflow Power. Now, and I just asked the question what everyone was using, and it amazed me, the response, actually. It had a great response. We got loads of people commenting, which is fantastic. Over 210 of you commented on it, which was fantastic. And it amazed me how many people still use Reflow Power. I still use Reflow Power. And I'm going to explain why in a bit. But it amazed me how many still do, bearing in mind all these wonderful lines that are available. Engage, what's this one called? Engage Supernatural, Supplex, Stream, Tournament Rig Line. So let me just put a question to you guys before we even get going, and I want you to comment in the live chat. What do you guys use? Now, we're talking about pole lines here, be that rig line or hook clamps, whichever. Some people use two. Some people just use the same one for everything. Let me know in the comments, in the live chat, what you guys use. We'll probably do reel lines a different time, but if we've got time, we'll have a look at that as well, because I've got a few bits that I like to use when it comes to reel lines. So let me know in the live chat, what line do you use? Now, Mick asked me to test all of these lines, and by that I mean tie some hooks on it. I've got a mic, so I have mic'd them up. Now, I've got to be honest, I'm not convinced that it's totally accurate, the one I've got, but it gives me a real rough idea, and there's definitely a trend, but I'll talk about that as we go through each line. Plenty of comments coming in now, so that's really good. Price is an issue. How much you get on a spool is obviously a factor. Price factor, trust. What is your most important factor when it comes to fishing line? Because I think a lot of the people who commented that they use Reflow Power wanted the durability, they wanted the strength, they wanted the reliability, and they wanted that confidence that they built up with. I don't know how long that's been available, but I would hazard a guess 20 years or so, probably, maybe even longer. It's one of the real old OGs in it of the commercial sort of scene. So let's get on with it. I use Reflow Power, and let me explain why. Now, I have used AccuPower a lot, and I'll explain why I use that as well. But to keep things simple, I pretty much always use Reflow Power. The reason is I've used it for a long time. It's very strong. It's very reliable. It's consistent. I've heard people talk about bad batches and stuff, but I've never experienced that, and I can only tell you what I've experienced. I've never experienced the bad batch thing. But but I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I've just never experienced it. And I use it. I tend not to use it in diameters less than 0.11. Now, the caveat to Preston Powerline is the diameters. Obviously, the diameter, we all know, I think you don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that the diameters are out. I've actually marked this up this morning, and 0.10, it's not as far out as what I thought it would be. But I always remember in the magazines, back when we used to do line diameter tests and stuff, I always remember 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, and 0.10 being okay, like one out. So 0.10 would be 0.11, 0.9 would be 0.10, 0.8 would be 0.9. And then once it got to 0.11, it was 2 out. So it'd be 0.11 would be 0.13, 0.13 would be 0.15. Now, the caveat to that is everyone will be saying, well, of course 0.11 is strong. You're using a line that's close to 0.14. But what I think is that the 0.11 reflow is stronger than most 0.14s, or that's my experience. So even though it is closer to 0.14 and it is closer to 0.11, I use 0.11 instead of 0.14. Does that make sense? So, and I know that it's very, very strong. So I've used it for years. It's got loads of stretch. It does me proud. I just can't fault it. I really can't. It's hard. As long as you know in your head what you're using, diameter-wise and strength-wise, then I cannot fault it. That being said, when it comes to the more delicate stuff, when I'm fishing 0.10, I don't fish a lot under 0.10 these days, but if I was doing, then I have been using AccuPower and I love it. And I'll tell you, that's pretty damn accurate, that stuff. It's strong, it ties well, it fishes well. It's hard to knock it. But for me all-round fishing, I reckon 90% of my stuff is done with this. So let me know in the comments, the live chat. Plenty of you coming in. Let's have a look at what you're using. Reflow Power, G-Line. I've not heard that one for a long time. Reflow Power, Reflow Power, Reflow Power. A lot of you guys are using Reflow Power. Let's get them likes up. There's nearly 60 of you watching. Let's get them likes up. There's only 13 likes. That's terrible. Let's come on, get liking. So I use Reflow Power and I use AccuPower for my smaller stuff. I have used that in like 0.18, 0.20, I'm having a collapse here of me documents. I have used that in like 0.18, 0.9, 0.20, 0.22 for my pace fishing, and it's been great as well. So I would happily use that as well if push comes to shove. However, there's been loads of lines released recently, and also ones that have probably been out a little while that have now found favour with a lot of my friends, people that I really respect, anglers that I really respect. So I thought it was a great time to have a look at them. One that my good friend Sam Collett uses, and I know a lot of guys are using now, is this stuff, Tournament Rig Line. Now, I'm friends with Jason Gilbert, who runs the Hooks to Go hook tying company. He goes in Chilton Baits, which is a tackle shop that I use. He's always in there. And he reckons, and he ties hundreds and hundreds of hooks every single day. It's his job. He reckons if he was to pick a line out of all of them, this would be it, Tournament Rig Line. He reckons it ties up the best. The diameters are good. You get a lot on the spool. It's quite expensive. Let me have a look. I've written down the prices here. It's around $10.75 according to the Daiwa website for 150 meters. So you do get a big spool, but it is over the £10 mark. So that might be a consideration. And based on my mic, it's actually a little bit under 0.10, I'd say. So that's an 0.10 one. It's the only one I've got, so I can't measure any of the other ones. But I'd say it's a little bit under. So it's very, very precise stuff, this is. And I think if you're one of those who really wants to focuses on line diameters, then that, I think, is a great line. It feels lovely. It feels ever so supple, but that might be because it is so much thinner than what I've got. It's got a nice amount of stretch in it. And I've tied up a hook on every one of the lines I've got here. Look, I've tied up a SFL, actually, which is quite a slippy hook, which is a PTFE hook. So it's quite slippy. And I'm saying that's a nice line. That it ties up beautiful. It feels strong. I've spoke to Sam Collett, and he thinks it's the absolute nuts. This stuff. Pem, who works at Diary, tells me the same, and I really trust his opinion on stuff like this. So the fact that Jason recommends it and he says he's tying more and more of this stuff, I think that's as a hook tyer, someone who's a professional hook tyer, I do think that's a big benefit. You know, it's obviously a big plus, isn't it, that people are choosing to use that. So definitely one to look at. What I would say, I do think it's thinner This spool certainly that I've got in my hand here is quite a bit thinner than what it says. So just bear that in mind. I haven't done any strength tests though, so don't bear that in, don't hold that against me. I've not done any strength tests or not strengths or anything like that. So this is purely a little bit of diameter and also what you're getting for your money. So over the £10 mark for 150 meters. So I think if you want a really good quality, I've got a feeling that is a really high quality line, that, and I think that hence the price. So it must be an expensive line, that, and probably will be with it. I've dial on it. Now the next line that it was actually Mick who suggested this one, because like me, he's used Preston line for years, but he went in Wickers the other day and he was chatting to Alan Scott on, and Alan says he tried everyone, Kamasan, all of them. It got Mick says that from his conversation, he got the impression that Alan had tried every line in Wickersley, whether it was whichever, just to try it. And he still comes back to the Suplex, which has been around in a couple of years now. It's been around, must have been around 7 or 8 years. And I must admit, of the lines that I tied up this morning, I think this is my favourite, And I really didn't think that, because I tried it back in the day and it wasn't for me. But I must admit, I tied this up this morning. There was no marks on it. It mic'd up very nicely. It felt strong. There was, but importantly, the line, the hook gripped really nicely. There was no slippage. There was no marks on the line where I'd pulled the line through the spade end. I'll tell you what, and it's Drennan don't do things. It's 0.10.7, so they're accurate. And I'd say that, according to my mic, that is about bang on. So really interesting. I wouldn't even consider that line, but having actually tied a few hooks up with it this morning, it felt really nice. That caught me off guard. Let's get these likes up. 70 odd of you are watching now. We've only got 33 likes. Come on, let's get some likes in the house. Come on, everyone's getting commenting, which is great to hear. I want to know what you want from a line. Do you just want something that's strong and reliable? Are you really into accurate diameters? Are you into stretch? Are you into how well it ties? What is it that you're actually looking for? Because for me, I just want something that's reliable. Hence why I've used Powerline for so many years. And a few of you are mentioning Silstar. I haven't got Silstar here. And that's a line that I believe it's over 30 years old now. And between me leaving school and joining DHP, so we're talking when I was about 23, I'm 36 now, so 13 years ago, that's all I pretty much used is Silstar. I stopped using it for a spell because I couldn't get hold of it. And it's like when you can't get hold of something, you start drifting away from it. It becomes difficult, doesn't it? But I would happily use Silstar. I know that's quite thick, but it ties lovely and it's supple, which is nice. And I totally get if people use Silstar match team, why they still do so, because I think it's a great line. Comments, loads of you are watching now. Fantastic. And I just want to know in the live chat what you want and what you look for in a line, because it's very personal, isn't it? So we've looked at tournament rig line, which is, I'm going to call it creme de la creme. Suplex, surprising all-rounder. I think that if I was to walk into a tackle shop, it's $3.95 for 50 meters, so it's around the same sort of price level. A bit cheap, obviously a lot cheaper than. Is it cheaper than tournament? No, it probably isn't, is it? It's just obviously a nice small spool. But when you consider that Stream, which we'll go on to next, is $6.99 for 50 meters, obviously it's a big difference. So we'll talk about Stream. Now, this is a line that's really interested me, because a lot of people who I consider peers in and around my sort of friendship group and that have switched to this for their hook lengths. Stream. The reason is, I mean, it's got a straighted breaking strain at 0.103 of 1.49 kilos. If you compare that to Suplex, which is 0.91 kilos. Now, I'm not saying that the stated breaking strain is true or legit, but if that is true, and people who have used it have told me how strong it is for the diameter, then that could be a real edge. And the only downside is it's very expensive, $6.99. But if you're using hook lengths, a 50-meter spool is going to last you a long time. It ties up beautiful. It mics up beautiful. I think that's a real winner, and I can see why people, anglers who I really respect, like real top level anglers, have given this a go, because it feels beautiful, really does. I would happily use that stuff. I think that I've heard good things about that. I think it's F1 Spider that they do. I've heard what's the other one? King, is it? Colmic King. I've heard a few. It's quite confusing. That's the only thing I will say about the Colmic stuff. And I think the Italian brands in general have a lot of lines because there's a lot of different styles of fishing. It's a bit confusing what every line is. But I think as a hook length line, that seems amazing. And I've only got it in 010, so that's all I can comment on. 43 likes and 90 odd of you are watching. Come on, let's get the likes up. Let's just go back to some of these guys. Some of the comments. A lot of you like confident, are looking for a line that you're confident in, find reliable and strong. Is price a factor? Tony wants to know which line would you use at makings this time of year. Free flow power, that's what I use. I've been using AccuPower, but it keeps breaking when I hook angry carp. It doesn't cope with shock chub breaking, 0.14, and carp on pellet wag break 18, not big. I think I get what you mean there. Tournament rig line. How was Preston and other companies being allowed to blatantly lie about the diameter of their lines? I think it's a historical thing. And if I want to play the political card, no one's ever argued when you get more than what you pay for, do they? And technically with Powerline, you get more than what you pay for. There you go, could be a politician, me. Prices consideration, £6 for a 100-metre spool. Seems about the mark, doesn't it? I use a lot of, and that's a big thing. It's all right me saying use stream for your hook lengths or consider stream for your hook lengths when a lot of the guys now are using pre-tied hook lengths. So you get what you're given, don't you? Yeah, that seems those two. They seem very, very good quality lines to me. Like the creme de la creme, hence the price, I guess. I mean, if that's $6.99 for 50 meters, that is the most expensive line we've got here. And I think you can probably tell. I think you can tell that those two are more expensive than the others, but yeah, just something. But it is expensive. Now, the new kid on the block is this stuff, which, if price is the big factor, at $5.99 for 150 meters, that could be a real winner from Guru. That Engage Supernatural. I've tied it. I asked Matt Godfrey for his opinion on it, and he said it's grippy. Now, I don't know what grippy means. I assume it's when you're tying PTFE hooks and it doesn't slip, which I think Engage used to be a bit of a problem for that. And I must admit, I have had that before with Powerline, where it slips a little bit or it can go over the spade. So what do I think about this? It mics up okay. I'd say it was ever so slightly over, but I'm talking, it's not 011, it's like 010 and a half, maybe. I think you've got to make your own opinions up when it comes to the micrometer, because I just got this off Amazon, so how accurate it is, I'm not 100% sure. But like I say, you can definitely spot a trend. For me, the tournament was slightly under. The Colmic, the Drennan, the AccuPower were almost perfect when it comes to 010. Powerline was about 011 and a bit. And then this was about 010 and a half, something like that. So it feels really nice. I think I think if you just wanted to pick a line that could do it all, I genuinely think that would be a really good choice. Like, I think it'd be nice for your hook lengths in 010s and stuff. But I think in 016, 018 and them sort of diameters, I think it'd just be a great main line as well. And it's cheap. I think it's really, really good. Based on what I've got here, it's funny, isn't it? Because you think that I'm not that precious about everything being so precise. I'm into a bit of value. I can see a lot of my fishing is carp dominated commercial fishing. And I think that would just be a great line. This is a small thing, but I use a rig mate for tying my rigs. And for me, on a rig mate, a square spool works a lot better, and a deep one at that, one that's got that sort of ridge. Because I don't know if you've ever used a rig mate, but your line can come off on that kind of spool, especially the AccuPower one, which is quite shallow. And that one looks the same. It's a bit deeper, actually, the Guru one. I know this is a small factor, but the line comes pouring off your AccuPower when you're making rigs with it. Never happens with Powerline. I think it's either the shape of the spool or the depth of the rim or whatever. It's just something to consider. It doesn't come spewing off when you're in between tying rigs. Maybe that would do it. And the only one little gripe I've got, and it was Mick actually who spotted it. Now I tie my hooks by putting the spool in between my legs, so I don't notice that to get my tension. But I've noticed that a lot of guys, and Matt used to do this actually when they used to live with Matt, put it on a desk and then put something heavy on top, a jar or something, and that's got like a raised bit. So actually, you won't be able to do that unless your jar had a little indentation in it. So just something to bear in mind. We're looking at the details, everybody. 55 likes, 100 of you watching. Fantastic. Let's get to 100 likes, everyone. A lot of you are saying you use a lot of hooks to nylon. I look for a line that ties well with very little stretch, which is quite interesting. I think that the stream and the rig line, and that is the line that you're sort of looking for then, Stephen, really, because I think that's not got loads of stretch, actually, the Supernatural, but it's got a nice amount of stretch. I must admit, if I was starting from scratch and I didn't have I've got quite a nice little collection of Powerline and AccuPower and stuff, I'd be more than happy to go into a shop and buy every grade of that and use it, because I think it could be a real winner. And it's not, I don't think it's probably as advanced as some of these lines. I could be talking out my arse here, but it just feels like a good line that could just do everything. So, and they're the ones I've got. AccuPower, I still think, again, I very much put them two together, that I would happily walk into a shop, pick them off the shelf and use them. That's $4.99 for 100 meters. That's $5.99 for 150. The Legend, like I say, I can't see me changing anytime soon. I've got a great stock of it. I really like it. It's never let me down. I can use it for bomb and pellet fishing. I can use it for F1 fishing. I can use it for carp fishing. I can use it for whatever. That's what I like about that. It just keeps my fishing simple. I know what diameters I'm using. Like I say, I still think 011 reflow power is stronger than most 014s anyway. So as long as you know what you're using, that's the main thing. A couple of lines that I haven't got, like I say, I haven't got Match Team with me. I haven't actually seen Match Team for so long that I can't really comment on it and how it feels these days. I haven't got Stroft. I've never used Stroft. Someone just mentioned Stroft. I've never even used it, but I've heard really good things. And it's one of those, another legacy line, isn't it? It's been around forever. Another one that someone mentioned on Facebook when I went through the comments, is it Yuki Invisible? That's apparently a really nice line. The original Engage I haven't got. I didn't like original Engage, I've got to say. It wasn't for me at all, but I would happily, I can't say the same about that. I would happily use that. I think that's a really good line, that is, just to do anything line, as are those two. Like I said, the one that really surprised me was Suplex. I really liked it to tie it up. It felt nice, and again, I just think it was a nice line. And then I say, if you want the creme de la creme, and you want the best of the best, then I think those two are. If you're really into your diameters and your strength to diameter ratio and all that, and you're fishing finesse stuff at world championship level, then I think those two. And maybe we're all fishing at that level, I don't know, or we all should aspire to fish at that level, and you can justify the extra money, and those two will do you proud as well. But if I had to pick a favourite, it's hard to pick a favourite, and I know that after doing this little experiment of tying these hooks with this thing, I'm still going to go back to the Old Faithful. So it's really funny, isn't it, how you, and that's just years of confidence and experience with that line, isn't it? It's hard, it's so hard to change when it comes to line. And I think it's hard as well when you've built up a hook length box with a certain line and stuff. So interesting stuff. So let's get your comments in. We're getting the likes. This is the most that's ever been watching on one of these lives. So it's really appreciate it. Hope you've had a nice bit of fishing recently. Like I say, my fishing's been really tough. I'm on well and truly on with the chub campaign at the moment, and it started off really well. I caught some really nice fish a few weeks ago, and then it's gone a bit crap. It went freezing, and the fishing was tough. I did have 9 fish last week, but it was mostly small fish. And then I've had some tough fishing since then. A lot of Engage. I think I'm swaying to the Daiwa line now, but hefty price. Get what you pay for. It's 150 meters though for a 10, well, just under 11 quid. So is it that expensive? I'm not sure. It's obviously a big chunk more than the Supernatural. I think side by side, there's a massive difference between those two lines. If anything, the tournament feels loads thinner, and according to the mic, it is. So I think I would have to mic up all those to know what I'm using, because I think it feels thinner to me. But like I say, that could just be my mic. I'm not sure. So I'd be interested to see if any of you have mic'd any of these lines up. What else have we got? Reflow power. A lot of you still use reflow power, and like I say, that's my favorite. The more natural mono does not have advanced polymers within it, so it melts when compressed under knot strength. It will grip more as it bonds to the things it's tied to. Interesting. Never even thought about it like that. Reflow power for main lines, hook lengths over 011 Dren and suplex for 012 and under. Yeah. Is that something you all do? Do you use two lines? Do you use, say, reflow power for your main line, and then AccuPower or something like a tournament rig line or a stream for your hook lengths? Is that something that you do? It makes sense. I can see why people would do that. Have you tried Matrix Pro Micron? I haven't. I've heard good things though, and I can't imagine Matrix would bring out a bad line. And that's one thing that I will say: whichever one of these lines that you pick, whatever one, I think you're going to be using a really good line. And I think it's purely a confidence thing, isn't it? And what you are actually looking for. If you're fishing a gin clear river where every bite's got to come out, maybe you're fishing a tough river where you're trying to winkle out one or two chub, then something like a stream might be beneficial, because you're going to get that super low diameter plus amazing strength. So I think it's horses for courses, isn't it? What happened to the mug? The mug's here. There it is. Great result last night. We actually played quite well last night. If we could have finished our dinners, we could have scored a load of goals. I think we had 30 odd shots last night. And I don't know if that's because we played well or Chelsea were really poor. I think it might have been a bit of a mixture of the both. But yeah, good game last night. What's happened to them? I love reflow power. I think a lot of you, I think most of you are commenting that reflow power is still the fave. 66 likes. Let's get it up. How's the little one doing? Much better, thanks. Actually, I couldn't go to Makins last week because it was a bit of a difficult one. But she's fine. Thank you very much for asking. Love reflow power. Would you use reflow or AccuPower lines on the reel? I've used reflow power a lot for waggler fishing. 013 and 015 is quite nice for pellet waggler fishing. When you want to chuck one of those tiny little mugging wagglers about, you've got to change it regular. It doesn't last very long on the reel. And I know that you Mick, for example, on the Trent and Lee Kerry, and that use 011 and 013 on the reel for their float fishing with that stick float waggler, bollo. It's a really nice line for that kind of fishing. So definitely. And I think Powerline has got enough stretch to consider it on the reel. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. What else are we going to look at? Should we have a look at great match on Saturday? Oh yeah, we were so poor. Again, Newcastle were good on Saturday, and again a bit like what with us last night. I think the fact that we were so poor on Saturday against Newcastle, but you'd never even let us get set. And I think that's a little bit what happened to Chelsea last night. We came out the blocks really fast, and Newcastle did the same to us, just absolutely bullied us from start to finish. You never even look like scoring. When it comes to reel lines, we will talk about that actually, because I'd love to know what reel lines you're all using, because I'm not sure you've got what is your next match? I don't know. And honestly, I've got no plans before Christmas at the moment. Makins is frozen at the minute, which I was quite enjoying. And the chub season's crept up on me as well. Tend to look at the cost. You can sometimes buy cheaper online. However, I'm old school. I like to get hold of it and look at it and feel it. Yeah. And that's exactly why this morning's been helpful for me. 20 minutes, tying a few hooks up and having a look at these lines has given me an opinion. And the opinion is they're all really good. And I know that's difficult to say. I've not picked one up and gone, oh God, I couldn't use that. I could happily use all of them. So I think it really is a personal preference. And I know reflow power divides opinion these days, certainly among the upper echelons of anglers. But for the mere mortals like me, I think it's a great line. I think it really does. It really is. And it just works. When it comes to reel lines, this stuff for me, I've used and abused this like you wouldn't believe. It's what I use for my chub fishing in £6. That's £6, 023. I use it straight through, and you would not believe the stress I've put this under when I'm chub fishing, because often I'm fishing in amongst trees, in amongst snags. I'm having to really bully the fish out, using big hooks, size 6 hooks and stuff like that. And I've never once had that let me down. It can come back and it can be grated where it's been rubbing up branches and stuff, and it still doesn't snap. And obviously that's without me Preston head on. It's so good. It lasts forever. It's strong. It's accurate diameters. It's got the right amount of strength. It's got a nice color. I quite like that deep green color. It's been really good for me. I recently gave that a try. Animal feeder, again, good value, 300 meters, and it's got those 150 meter marks on it. Now I haven't got any more than this. I haven't got the Guru ones. I haven't got other brands. These are just the 2 that I had laying around. And I put that on my reel, and I've been really impressed with it. Again, Mick just gave me it to try, and I think it's really, really good. Yeah, it's good stuff, that is. So good value. The old faithful sinking feeder mono, I think that's just fantastic. And I've heard stories at like world champs and stuff where they're fishing in hot countries where this stuff is even like performing well in the sun, when the sun absolutely kills lines normally. So good stuff, that is. Really good stuff. What do you use on the reel? Do you know why Matrix Horizon Mono has a significantly higher breaking strain for its diameter than the majority of other manufacturers' reel lines? Don't know. You'd have to try it. You'd have to try it. There's loads of different grades on them. When you go to these line manufacturers and stuff, it could just be really good, stretchy, strong line. It could be, but until you try it for yourself, you'd never know. There's something here I'm not allowed to show you. That's very strong for its diameter. Really strong for its diameter, which you hopefully be seeing very soon. Currently using Daiwa line on my main line, as that's all my local tackle shop sells. I think, I think Daiwa sensor and stuff like that's really, really popular still, isn't it? Very good line. And Tournament ST, I know a lot of people use that. Well, I'm not a tease, look. Sinking feeder mono. A lot of you are using sinking feeder mono on your reel. Brilliant. Guru Pro line, expensive. Uses a main line, smooth off the spool. Is that the Pulse Pro? No, Tony, I wouldn't tease. I wouldn't possibly tease that line, would I? How dare you? Yeah, I knock around with Steve Ring. He comes chub fishing with me in the winter, and I know he uses that Pulse Pro, loves it. So yeah, I can imagine that's a really good line. Guru make good products, aren't they? And like I say, I'd happily, if I was starting up and I didn't have a stock of power line, I'd happily go into a shop and get sorted out with this. It's my kind of line, that is. It's just a good fishing line. What fluorocarbon are you using? That's an interesting question, because I had a real thing about fluorocarbon a few years ago, and I used that Milo one, which I found fantastic, crept on. I've never used it since. I used to, when I was doing a lot of natural feeder fishing, I thought it helped not spin the hook length up. I felt like it made a big difference. And I use it for my lure fishing in like 030, 026, 023. That Drennan Acolyte one's very good. Dave Oates in Chiltern recommends that one, and I've tried it. I've also used one from Strike King. It's tournament grade fluorocarbon. You get 300 meters for about £8. Now I think whether that's as good quality as the Acolyte stuff, I'm not sure. I can't imagine it can be, because it's a cheap one, but it ties nice. It's strong. It's very nice, and it's like I say, I got it off the internet. Tackle to You, I think, one of them shops, and it was really good. It was really good. Strong as anything. And like I say, I use it for my leaders when I'm lure fishing in 030. I've even used it as hook lengths for chub fishing at times, and it's been bulletproof. So that Milo one, if you can get hold of that Milo crept on, I think that's a really good line. I've never really used the Preston one. I never tried it. I never really tried the Guru one. So yeah, I'll tell you which one I used to really like. Grand Match, the old Preston one. That was a good line. So any more questions or any more like comments, let me know, because I'm going to stay on for another few minutes and then I'm going to crack on. Stop putting diosensor mono bulk spools in a bucket of water while putting back in line on reel. The line swells and causes the spool to break. Oh dear. Big question for me. Does fluorocarbon perform better than mono? It's horse again. It's horses for courses. I think if you're fishing double baits a lot and you're reeling in and out, and I think it does stop spin ups. Does it get you more bites? Jury's out. Is it invisible in water? Jury's out. The only thing I will say is when you go in these foreign countries where the water's incredibly clear off the beach and stuff, fishing for tarpon or bonefish or whatever, they wouldn't dream of putting mono hook lengths on. But that water is crystal clear. Most of the venues we fish, commercials, it's muddy. I can't believe that you're getting any advantage out of fluorocarbon personally, unless you're looking for a heavy line. Maybe on a river where it's clear or a canal that's clear, fluorocarbon might be an edge. I think from 90% of our fishing these days on commercials, I'm not convinced it makes a massive difference. But again, if water clarity is an issue, definitely worth checking out, because these fishermen in these exotic locations wouldn't dream of putting 030 mono on as a hook length, would they? They all use fluorocarbon. So there's got to be something in that, hasn't there? And all the bass anglers in the UK, the bass anglers in America, when they're fishing for a handful of big fish, all use it. And it's very abrasion resistant as well, which is why I'm starting to try it for chub fishing, is that it's very abrasion resistant. So yeah, just something to consider. There's my little, look at that, I tied a hook with every one of them monos I had today, look, like I say, and they're all fine. They're all fine. Midi Lovies, that was a line that no one's mentioned, actually. But that's one my dad used to use, Midi Lovies. I know Rob likes that. Rob Wotton, still to this day, loves his Midi Lovies. Mics up well, it ties up well. A lot of people used to think it was similar to Silstar, but I think the colour probably led you astray a bit with that. I think it is a different line. But again, a good line. And unfortunately, with Midi now, no one really seems to know what's happening with Midi. But hopefully Lovies is still around for people who like it. What about knots? Would you put your line straight onto an empty spool when spooling up, or would you put backing on first? It really depends, Stephen, on your spool depth. I generally have backing on mine. But if it was a shallow spool, it wouldn't bother me putting it straight on the spool. I don't see why it would bother. Tell you what I often do, and it's a tip that Michael Buckwalder showed me, is just use electrical tape as backing and just fill it up. I've got to be honest, I rarely even put 150 meters on my reels these days. There's not a lot of fishing where I do a lot of long chuck fishing, so I'll often try and get two reels out of one of them. A lot of my fishing, like the chubbing and stuff, I'm chucking less than 20 meters. So I don't need 150 meters. But like I say, if you do want loads of line for your money, 300 meters on the spool. So I think, reading between the lines, what everyone's using, strength is the number one priority, but I think diameter is definitely something that you're all aware of. For people who are watching after the event, let me know in the comments what line you are using at the moment, why you use it, what would you use. Like I say, we've looked at different lines here. We've looked at their pros, their cons. The tournament and the stream are definitely the best to tie. They definitely just feel the most expensive lines, and the price reflects that. Suplex, AccuPower, Supernatural, I'd be more than happy to use any of those. And then you've got the legendary Reflow Power that is hard for me to change from because I've got so much confidence in it. So when I was a kid, I used to dream of owning Bayer Pearlon. I could only afford fog, so bad it should have been illegal. Bayer Pearlon, I haven't seen that for a long time. So I bet it's a nice line though, Bayer Pearlon. I think I've got a feeling, because we wholesale fishing tackle as well as new fish. I've got a feeling that we stock Bayer Pearlon actually. I'm up at New Fish HQ tomorrow because there's some new products behind that banner that you're not allowed to see that we're going to go and have a meeting about. There's new products there, and but if I just whip that down, you'd see them. But unfortunately, you can't see it. So today you have to wait till next year. Thanks everyone for watching. That's been we had a great audience today. Loads of comments, loads of people watching. Fantastic. You haven't seen that. And we'll see you again on the very next time. We'll try and do another one next week. Like I say, there probably won't be an edited video. I have got a live match in the bag, so I'll try and get that edited over the weekend. But there's a lot of stuff on this weekend. We've got Pantos and all sorts this weekend. No, I tell you what, no one's mentioned Maxima. Not a single person's mentioned Maxima. I mean, Maxima wouldn't hold a candle to that, whatever that is. But it'd be interesting to see how many of you still use Maxima. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. I say there won't be an edited video, or there might be if I get a chance to do it, but we'll try and get live again next week. So thanks everyone for watching. Let me know in the comments what line you use, both for rigs, hook clamps, and main line. Thanks everyone. We'll see you again soon.